you that Julia finished Illinois State University. She has a bachelor's degree in graphic and print design. She also has background in communications and marketing, advertising. She's teaching Chinese language to students here in Illinois and also all the way down to Atlanta. She is an active member of Toastmasters International Club, local branch in St. Charles. That's where I met Julie actually 4 years ago at her Christmas party. And immediately I was smitten by her wit and charm and intelligence and just overall great personality. As a matter of fact, she became a Toastmasters president in 2021, and she was named as the president of the year by Toastmasters. So, and now she's a VP of membership, right? Or education, vice president of education for Toastmasters here in St. Charles. So she lives here in St. Charles. And I told Julia, I said, you know, I got into this group because I became a guest speaker one day. And then I joined the group. And she said, you know what, I'm thinking about it.
It's a great organization.
Yeah, it's a great organization. So Julia has a lot of fun activities outside of work and teaching. She likes tap dancing. She likes to do drumming. She's doing beehiving. I don't know if it's pronounced correctly. She also does a lot of improv comedy work, so she's doing some fun stuff like that. And her most favorite activity is going for a walk in the nature with her pit bull, Frank. Yeah, so.
Yes.
So Julia has a fantastic background, great personality, and with that said, Julia, I'm turning the stage to you. Please
All right.
tell us more about you.
Thank you. Thank you, Irina. And hello, everyone. And the virtual friends. It is fantastic to be here. Thank you for having me. It's truly an honor. Addressing the group to share my story has always been my dream, and it is coming true today. So it's quite a special day for me. A perfect journey, I'm inspired by the fulfilling flower. The special flower opens up around 7 p.m. 7 p.m. at night. It reaches its full bloom around midnight. Then immediately it starts to close up. By 7 a.m., this flower has reached the end of its journey and it's done. When I witness these flowers from the tiny little bulb that comes out of the leaves, it's like a cactus succulent. The tiny little bulb forms and starts to get bigger and bigger. Eventually, it matures. I can tell that night it will bloom. And then it gives out this exquisite fragrance while it's blooming. And I just watch it getting so big, and the details is amazing. All the little pollen, every little part of this flower. It just doesn't even look like it's something that comes out of this earth. I look at this as my life. You never know when our time may come. So because of this flower, the inspiration, it motivated me to share my story. And how did I get here today? Let me tell you a little story of how that happened. I connected with an old friend earlier last year, Christine Welsh. Christina Welsh was a former member of it was Batavia Toastmasters, Talk of the Town Toastmasters in Batavia. This was back in 2012. Chris and I were both members. She was starting a coffee cake business. We talked briefly about marketing her coffee cake. And I introduced her to a good friend of mine, a great photographer, Robert. And Robert helped her out with the rest of her photography needs after that. Years later, we forward back to when we connected last year. I had bad news to share with her. Robert had a heart attack and passed away. She did not know. So when we met at a Starbucks, this is almost 5 years we haven't seen each other. And Chris started to say, I haven't seen Robert in forever. And I gave her the look, and she knew immediately. We exchanged the look. So it was a somber beginning. Now, Chris being a great networker, after she found out what I was doing, she immediately had a list of people for me to connect. And one of them was Bonnie. Yes, because Bonnie was taking drum lessons, and so was I. And among the list was other people for affiliate marketing, but funny enough, she didn't have Bonnie's email. And after she got home, she sent out an email to all the ladies that she mentioned, the connections, the people for me to connect, including Bonnie. And I said, well, Bonnie is the only one you didn't have the email for, and I don't know how to get a hold of her. So back and forth, we were able to connect, Bonnie and I. We met on, I think it was International Drummer Day. We met in a coffee shop, and it just happens to be International Drummer Day, and my drumming teacher was in the hospital that day, so I made a little drum tribute to him. And this was maybe just a couple months into my lessons, but I did it. I got on Facebook Live and I did a little video, just played whatever beats that I learned, and it actually was a pretty good hit. Bonnie and I continued to take walks together. I shared my aspiration with her. I said I would like to really pursue the career of being a public speaker. And she introduced me to Diane. And here I am. Diane got back to me and said, okay, we have you scheduled for next March. In August, March 3rd. What's your program gonna be? Back then I said, what about a perfect journey? Because at the end of the summer, this is when the plant was starting to have bulbs, quite a few bulbs. Between my mom's plant and this plant, which was an offshoot of her plant, we had a lot of opportunities to witness this blooming flower. So I decided to use this as the title of my program, The Perfect Journey. Now I'm going to transition into the real journey of Julia, how I came to this country and what being Julia has done for me. My real name is Yun, Y-U-N, Yun. It means light in Mandarin, means light. My last name, Xia, means summer. Summer is my favorite season because my last name means summer. And my birthday is in July. It's July 14th, which is Bastille Day. So on my list is to go to France and celebrate my birthday. The French people. So that is on my to-do list. My family came to this country in 1984 to look for better opportunity for my parents and my brother and myself. I was born in 1970, so when we came here I was 14. When I was 2-year-old in 1972, my father was taken away. A couple people showed up at the door. They told him that they are doing an investigation. My dad's name happened to be on a list of communist suspects. And this was in the 70s, and there's a lot of fear for communists, and they were serious about this. My dad was captured. He wasn't a communist, so it wasn't really capture. His name was on this list that somebody handed in exchange of their freedom. They wanted to get the same list from my father, and he said, I don't have a list for you. So he went into the prison, and it was a 10-year sentence, and he was released 8 years for good behavior. At that time, 1972, my mother was pregnant with my younger brother. So even though my dad didn't live with us for those 8 years, he was a big part of our lives. We always made trips to go visit him. So that's another journey. We would take train, go stay with my aunt, my dad's older sister in Taipei, the capital of Taiwan, and then we would take the taxi to this prison. It's a white-collar prison. It was somewhat of an academic atmosphere. Big campuses, nice landscaping, and my father reunited with some of his college friends over there. So we had good memories, my brother and I, to visit on trips to visit my dad. The only thing is we didn't understand why dad couldn't come home with us. We would always ask mom, can dad come home today? Well, 8 years later, dad finally came home. By that time, he was in his, I would say, early 50s. And friends were afraid to come by the house because they didn't want to get in trouble. His teaching job was gone. And during the time that he wasn't with us, my mom pursued a career in banking because that's what she studied. And she worked up from a teller all the way up to the higher positions in the financial, in the bank that she started working for. She was a breadwinner. She wasn't a single mom, but she really briefed my brother and I to make sure we do not tell anyone about my dad's, where he is at, or about this family secret. So my brother and I were pretty mature. We had to mature at that young age to really be discreet about this and be independent. We walk ourselves to bus stop, we make meals, we help mom out. And when dad came home, we were thrilled, we were family, but tension started to build up because my mom needed a break, and it just wasn't, we became a dysfunctional family. My aunt, who lived here in Chicago, suggested to my family, why don't your family consider being immigrants and move over here? What a great idea. We started applying for immigration, and because of my dad's communist record, it didn't go as smoothly as we wished. But years later, it finally got approved, and we came. 8 suitcases. My mom packed up all our belongings. Well, not all, but she had handpicked the ones that she thought we would need, and we landed at O'Hare Airport. My uncle picked us up, and we stayed with my aunt and uncle for about a month. Then we found our little apartment in Carroll Stream and moved into there in a 1-bedroom apartment. I went to high school in Wheaton. It was a very good school district, and figuring things out was interesting. When I first came, I was 14 when I first came here, and I went into 8th grade. I should have been in high school, but higher power intervention, they thought my brother and I, it's better to have my brother and I in the same school, which was a good idea. High school would have been just a little too rough for me to start off school here in this country. I started in 8th grade, and I did okay. We had a little bit of English lesson when we were living in Taiwan. My dad actually taught us English. So maybe being a girl, I was easier to pick up the language. And I passed 8th grade and moved down to high school, Wheaton North High School. My brother, however, struggled. He had to repeat 6th grade. But now, he's an electrical engineer. And I'm a star. He's been there for over 20 years, and he doesn't speak with an accent at all. And this is his American dream. My dad passed away in 2004. He was 80-year-old. After serving in the hospitality business, he worked for Marriott. When we came here, he actually worked for Kmart, and it was very humbling. He was in his maybe mid-50s, early 60s, late 50s, and he collected cards. It was a part-time job in the morning, and at nighttime he went out to Marriott to do a little office cleaning. But we had good health insurance, which is what was important. Years of that, he retired in his when he turned 70, and my brother and I took him to San Diego Zoo to see the pandas, and I took him to San Francisco. We did a little traveling, drove out to Niagara Falls to really see the country, and I had some really fond memories of spending time with Dad. That's the family's American dream. For myself, after I graduated from high school, I went to ISU. Now here's the interesting thing. Not having really talking with my parents, I decided to go to ISU myself. It's just picking the brochure, all the direct mail that comes to the house. I decided ISU would be the one. And I drove out there by myself to the orientation. And I borrowed my dad's car. It was the Buick Century. I drove out there through the cornfield. This is what, 55? This was before 355. I think I took 59 to 55 and just drove straight down there. It was great. I enjoyed that journey. It was just great to drive. And I seen all the other kids with their parents. They went to do their own thing, and I stayed in the dorm. I had a roommate, and it was just a life that I thought was just so neat. And I, of course, enrolled, and the next thing is, what was going to be my major? I didn't know. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I grew up. The campus, the dorm that I was assigned to, Turner Hall, was way out there on the west skirt of the west edge of the campus. Not close to really any classrooms, any buildings that offer classes, except one. Actually, Turner Hall was the building that had the classes where the industrial technology majors were all gathering, and among which graphic communication falls under the industrial technology sequence, which consisted of construction and electrical and all the other major industries. And not really interested in the construction sequence, I picked graphic communication, which was printing. I didn't have to walk very far to go to those classes. It was selfish reasons, but I fell in love with the printing process. Working with the camera, stripping up the film, putting that onto the plate burner, making plates, and then be able to take that one single piece of foil, they call this a plate, and put that on a single press. We were able to put that on 4 times, CMYK, run a 4-color job on a single color press. That was amazing. Very hands-on. We really got our hands dirty. And I enjoyed that as my major. My second semester of the senior year, I was offered an internship with one of the major companies in Chicago, with USA. It was actually a Canadian company from Quebecor. They had a great internship program because they owned 6 companies in Chicago that handled end-to-end process of printing. So starting out from the designing, I went designing to the finishing to packaging. My friend Carol and I, we both got an internship, offered an internship. We were able to rotate through these 6 plants. I had the chance to be in the Burnett building, and that was where all the ad agencies and all the designers, it was a great place to people watch. And I really enjoyed that. By the time the program was coming to an end around May, I was heading back to school for graduation. Started to really look for jobs. I sent out a lot of resumes by mail. Mail, right? Find a special paper with the waterprint, print out tons of those resumes and special envelope, matching envelopes, hundreds of resumes. I was offered a position at a Canadian company. This is Quebecor. Quebecor, they were just starting a desktop department which used computers, Macintosh computers, to do photo retouching. And they needed an entry position on a night shift. They hired 2 people. So my friend Russell was still connected on LinkedIn. Russell Swift was the more experienced operator, and I was the newbie. And the 2 of us worked night shift, 11 o'clock to 7 a.m. Doing a lot of retouching. The 2 accounts that we had was Travel and Leisure and Food and Wine magazines. And we got to see a lot of nice pictures. We cleaned a lot of spots, a lot of dust, because through the scanning process, you pick up a lot of dust and oil. So we got to see some amazing pictures. And then a couple months later, we get to flip through the magazine and we say, hey, I remember this, I remember this. I remember what we did to make this picture complete, you know. Sometimes when the photographer take the pictures, they cut off the glass, so you have to recreate it by extending the background and take the one side, flip it to the next side, and then kind of patch it over by cloning with pixels. We do that with people too, with their skin. Imagination, right? Everything we see is not really real, but we do our best job. The professionals all do our best job to make it, to paint a pretty picture for everyone. So printing is where I started out. Then I moved on. There was a union shop. I joined the printing union, which was great. I loved it. I didn't have to really, I didn't have a dress code. It was very casual. And back then, printing jobs were in demand, and I was able to move to different companies. It just seems so happens, every time I started to feel I need a raise, they give me the company will give me a raise, but I feel, well, I really want to learn something new, and I move on. So it seems like every other 2 years I was moving. But my 5th job, I landed at Carol Stream. It was Berlin Industries, and I stayed there for almost 10 years. In 2009, that was the time when the economy was very shaky. I was laid off. I was running the digital press. I was doing a lot of stuff for Avon. I was printing on-demand postcards for the Avon ladies to order and send out to their customers. But it just wasn't enough volume to justify keeping me on staff, so I was laid off. It was in March, actually. I couldn't be more thrilled. By that time, I had really wanted to be on my own, offer marketing solutions to small businesses. Because all the time I was seeing all these huge volumes of direct mail for big companies. I was thinking, what about the small companies? They are the ones that really need direct mail. They are the ones that really need to get their brand out there. But how come I never see their jobs in our plant? So I decided to take that opportunity, purchased a software, really made an investment, and started my own business. Reflection Communications at that time was targeting towards small businesses to deliver personalized marketing messages for them, using the digital press technology that I was operating. So it was variable data where every piece of information that gets printed on the direct mail piece is different. For example, you can say irina.myavon.com, and you can drive the customers to visit that landing page, and you can offer them special discounts and start a relationship. That's what I was doing, but it was a hard sell because at that time it was a down market and the small businesses just really wasn't ready to make that investment into direct mail. There's no guarantee in getting a return. So, and direct mail, you really have to do it repeatedly to see the return. So I went out of business. But during that time was when I joined a network group that perhaps has changed my life. Dynamic Professional Women's Network, DPWN. I joined DPWN to network, start my own business. I met Christy Ruffino, the founder of DPWN. This was a new chapter that she was launching in Bartlett. And I really felt at home there, dressed up, go have lunch with the ladies, exchange leads. And it was also from her sharing about Toastmasters that I visited the Toastmaster group that she belonged to. Now, up to that time, the only thing I know about Toastmasters is every successful business person, in their bio, it'll say, so-and-so is also a proud member of Toastmasters. And I always thought, boy, this Toastmasters must be like a really exclusive place that they only take the successful people. So when I went to visit Christy's club, I thought, well, you know, Christy is successful. She owns a network group, and I'm just so honored to go there and visit. Never would I thought that I would qualify to join. I have a couple of Toastmaster friends here. Little did I know, they offered for me to join after the meeting. They said, well, would you like an application? I said, what? You would take me? They said, oh yeah. And not only they took me as a member, they also asked me to help out as an officer. So I started being a sergeant in arms at that club, which was very smart for them, because being a sergeant in arms, you have to open a meeting, every meeting. So it was because the current sergeant in arms just wasn't able to do it, so they asked me if I would be available to step in. And of course, I jumped at it. I said, sure, I would love to serve. And having that responsibility, I had to be there at every meeting. At that time, launching a business, also balancing my marriage, it was no easy task. When things were going good, everything was no problem, but when the financial situation got tight, my marriage started to really have issues. My ex-husband really did his best to be supportive, but we just weren't able to make it. In 2019, we've been separated and the divorce was finalized. And when we had the Christmas party, that was actually just a couple months, Paul moved out. He went to Florida to be with his parents to help them. They were retired and they could use his help. So he moved out in October, just before Halloween. And 2 months later, I was able to host a Christmas party with Irina, and that was very special for me because we just have not had a positive, fun event at my house, and I still couldn't believe that people actually came. And they were all over my kitchen having a great time. And I still have that mental image, and it's humbling. So that was also another part of my journey. I wanted to share with you the transformation, my personal transformation, that part of the journey, now that we've talked about my professional journey. Maybe it was anxiety, maybe it was just the fact that my family was different from other families. I really yearned to be just like everybody else. I had a last name that people couldn't pronounce here after we moved here. When I was in Taiwan, I had a first name that people couldn't pronounce. My dad picked a very obscure character, Yun. It's not a normal Yun. The cloud in the sky is also Yun, but it's not that character. It's this special character that means light. Nobody could ever pronounce it. Every time the teachers read, they take attendance, when they get stuck, they say, Xia. I say, Yun, it's me, present, right here. And then same here, same thing when I come to this country, they go, Julia, I would say, Xia, Xia. So for that, I know that I would not be able to have a successful career as a real estate agent. Or insurance agent. Just, you have a name that people can't pronounce, it's probably not going to be good for you. But maybe as a speaker, we'll work at that. Or maybe even a comedian, we'll work at that. So my family life was different from everyone, and I have this complex. I just had this complex. I felt I was different from everybody, and it comes out. It comes out as frustration. It comes out as anxiety, and it affected my relationship with my family, with my mom, with my dad, with my brother, and with myself. I didn't really know how to express myself. I didn't know how to organize my thoughts. All I know is I want to be just like everybody else. Why am I not like everybody else? It seems like I may need anger management. I don't know what, if you look at me now, do you think I'm a peaceful person? Relatively calm. I have a heightened sense of awareness. Because of those troubled times. When I first got married in 1999, I just didn't think it was the right thing. But how do you tell your husband, I think this was a mistake? You can't. So we stuck in there. We made the best out of it. I was working night shift in a printing company. We didn't really spend a lot of time together. And I would laugh with my friends, oh, this is a secret to our successful marriage. But it wasn't. It wasn't. And I so much wanted to get better. I know that I needed healing. Something wasn't right inside. And I think my mom knew this. She suggested, hey, why don't you come with me? There's a meditation class. I said, okay, let's go. I was introduced to meditation, really look inside the mind, reflecting. Reflecting is not, I'm not a stranger with reflection, looking within. I was always getting in trouble as a young girl, where my mom would say, go to that room and kneel in front of your dad's picture and reflect. So I knew that reflect is a thing I have to do, but I didn't know about deep reflection, really look within what's coming up in the mind. It's about settling the dust. Imagine you as a bottle of water, and there's just all this dust particles in there, and the water is so muddy, and you can't see through it. It's like when we go through trouble times, and the emotions take it over, and we just can't see clear. But through meditation, we can settle that dust, we can settle that emotion, and we can see clear, and the solution will come to us. I use that method every day, in every aspect of my life. That is my solution to control my emotions, to not explode, to not lash out. So many times I have lashed out towards my loved ones. I just remember getting into my car and peel out of my parents' driveway. Repeatedly, a lot, I did that. And my regret, of course, is being a troubled child to my parents when they had tried so much, sacrificed so much for us to have a secure life and opportunity to come to this country. Heightened sense of awareness. Also, be able to really engage in life. Like Irina mentioned, all the hobbies I have as a beekeeper. How did I become a beekeeper? This is from meeting somebody on eHarmony. When my divorce was finalized, I said, great, now I can join eHarmony, because when I was separated, I was not able to join eHarmony. And I met somebody that was into beekeeping, and because of that, I learned about beekeeping, and that is saying yes and to that. Also joined the improv, took an improv class that came from Pat. Pat encouraged me after I did my icebreaker speech at the Toastmasters. She suggested, what about the Laugh Out Loud Comedy Club in Schaumburg? They have great classes, and I joined right away. That summer, I joined Laugh Out Loud Beginner Improv. And I recruited my friend, Arthur, to join with me. Arthur and I worked in a baiting brand company 5 years ago, so we became good friends. Connections are important. I believe there is no random meeting in life. We attract people. There are some people we may never meet, that we never cross paths, but then there are others, organizations that come to our paths that we have the good fortune of connecting with, that we can either be a part of, like the Toastmasters, or we can share with others. We can serve and we can share, and that's what makes life meaningful. Having those in our lives, one should never be depressed. Every second of my life is so full. I go to bed exhausted, but fulfilled. Just hours ago, I was with a bunch of first graders in elementary school in Hinsdale. And the conversation went something like this. This is for Mandarin class. And I said, we are not animals. We are human beings. And this is because they were throwing their trash on the floor. I'm teaching them Mandarin language. I'm also teaching them etiquettes. They looked at me. Well, baby steps. It's just an honor to be able to carry on the teacher torch. My dad was a history and Chinese language teacher. And his students and his acquaintances, they address him as 夏老师, 夏老师, which means teacher 夏, teacher 夏. And now, I'm 夏老师. It comes full circle. And I'm so thrilled to be here and having this memory as part of my journey. I look forward to sharing more of me with every single one of you. Thank you for having me. Oh, yes. Does anybody have questions?
I have one.
Sure.
What do you remember about your trip from overseas to the United States, the actual physical journey?
Oh, sure. So Taiwan is a very tiny place, and it takes only about 4 hours driving from one end to the other. We lived in the south end. We lived in Tainan, which means Taiwan, south. Tainan, Nan means south. For that journey, we recruited my mom's brother. We needed somebody to drive us with a big van that he borrowed. And he also asked another friend because he wasn't sure that he could make that overnight drive. Our flight, I guess, was early in the morning, and we had to leave late at night to make that trip. And it was going to be a little over 4 hours because he had to stop over. My memory of that drive is my god sister. So my god sister came and visited us to say goodbye. Her sister was actually my dad's student, and she was a trouble student. My dad had to ride his bicycle to talk with her parents to say, well, you know, your daughter's acting like this, and please work with me on this. And they became such a close family to us. When my dad was taken away, they basically adopted my brother and me. We would always walk over to their house, and the mom would prepare meals, and my brother and I would eat over there. And they had the daughter that was a problem child, and then her younger sister, which was the god sister that came to say goodbye to us. And she took off her belt. I had this huge blouse shirt on that my mom purchased, and she thought this would be a great outfit for you to wear, but it was just too big. And so she took off her belt and tied it around my waist, and it became like a really fashionable fancy. And I thought, wow, this is great. Now I can walk through the airport crowd. And it was a very good meeting. So I had these capri denim jeans. The outfit is what I remember. But we also, it's just the luggages, like those 8 pieces of luggages. And my mom did not know about Chinatown in Chicago, that we could buy things. Like the steamers and, you know, the rice cooker. So we brought over a lot of things. So it felt like we were escaping. And then we felt out of place, but it was a rainy day. It was a rainy day when we came here, and I remember seeing a lot of the professional-looking people with their raincoats, you know, the London fog raincoats. And I go, wow, just like movies. Yeah, so that was how it was. Yeah, and then shortly after there was frost, and then winter came.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like Chicago winter, hello. And yeah, that was 1984, and the Chicago Bears. that season was when they won the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's right.
And I remember watching on TV. I was really, music was a big thing. I was drawn to classic rock. Of all the channels I could pick, classic rock was the genre that I really felt, you know, rock, the Rolling Stones, and just all the songs. It's like, oh, I really like this melody. And Columbia House Club, the cassettes. I subscribed to Rolling Stone, and I went, wow, you can have 10 cassettes for a penny. So I subscribed. That was the direct mail, the power of direct mail. So I started collecting all these cassettes, and I still have them. And I learned my English through the music, and of course I watched a lot of the sitcom, the 30-minute sitcom, Cheers, Family Ties. Those were my regular shows. Remington Steele, A-Team, Growing Pains. Every day I had a program that I watched. So that's how I really immersed myself into the culture.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you still have family in Taiwan?
I still have family in Taiwan.
Have you ever gone and visited them, or have they come and visited you?
I have gone over there once. They have not come here yet. I guess Chicago is not really a place they want to visit, but I'm trying to persuade them. It's really a lot of fun in the summer. Yeah, but I went back one time. It was 2000. It was year 2000, 2001. My grandparents were still alive, and we stayed in their building, and it was very good to see them. I guess I look a lot like my mom. And one time when my grandma saw me, she called me by my mom's name, and I was like, "Oh, hi," and she said, "Oh, you look like your mother," and it was very nice. But it was the traffic was so bad that I dare not ride my bike. Where I used to ride my bike all over, my bicycle all over the town. I thought, no, this is too dangerous. And yeah, but I connected with a couple schoolmates from my junior high, and actually was still connected on Facebook. Yes, the power of Facebook, and so they keep up with what's going on with me. Yeah, I would like to go back and visit. Yes.
That epithelium plant,
Yes.
can you purchase that?
Oh, I
in
would
the
love to
States?
give you one. I have, so this particular plant, the leaf, it generates roots if you put it in water. And I have a lot of, or maybe not a lot, but I have quite a few. And I can, if anybody's interested, I can give you a plant. And it's fairly easy to grow. Yeah, I've shared 5 or 6 with some good friends of mine, and they're doing well. They're doing really well. Yes. So I can give my information to you, and then yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, epiphyllum. Yes.
Did your mother find employment when she came over?
She, of course, she was not able to find employment in the bank, because of the language barrier. So she went through a period of depression because she wasn't able to find jobs, and she had no friends, and she had to resign from her position. So it really was a dark time. But she came out of it. She came out of it, and she found a temp agency, and she worked in the factory. So it was very humbling, but she enjoyed it. It gave her a purpose, and she connected with some friends that was very kind and generous, and she started hosting parties at our house. After living in the apartments for years, after I graduated from college, my family was able to purchase a house in Glendale Heights. This was our first home, and we still have it. My mom and my brother live in Bartlett now. They moved out of the Glendale Heights home. They now live in Bartlett, and that Glendale Heights home is now a rental property. And my brother is very handy, so it actually is profitable. And yeah, it's a very humble beginning.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Jill.
you.
It was a wonderful talk.
There is a person online, 2 people have questions.
So tell them to unmute themselves.
Okay. Did they raise their hand?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Jim.
They should
Hi,
unmute
Jim.
themselves.
Did you have a question, Jim? Oh, please unmute yourself. Can we hear them?
I'm gonna see.
So Jim, I also, besides Fox Valley Toastmasters, I also belong to Aurora Advanced Expressive Toastmasters. And this particular club have all the seasoned Toastmaster members. It's advanced in terms of evaluation. So in the regular club, you get 1 evaluation per speaker, but in this club, you have 3 people, and they give a panel style evaluations. And they are very thorough, and they really want to encourage each other to do well. So Jim and Tom and Larry, they're all from Advanced Expressives, and they've been in Toastmasters for probably at least 10 years each.
Hi, Julia.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Julia.
Hey, Jim.
We would like,
Can I see
I
them
would like
here?
to hear some more comparison about what your school years were like compared with the young kids that you're teaching now. What's their environment like? And what was your environment in the town that you lived in?
Okay, I can tell you that the elementary school I went to is very different from the elementary school here. And I meant to check in with my friends now and see if it's any different. But back then, we had to go to school, and there are about 50 kids. It's a large class, big size classes. And we get to school maybe around 7 o'clock, and by 7:30, we get to work. We put up the chairs, just like restaurants, closing time, chairs up on the table, everybody has a job. Somebody will be cleaning the windows, somebody will be sweeping, somebody will be putting water so it doesn't get too dusty because it's very sandy, it's dry over there. So they will be sprinkling water to kind of calm down the dust. And we were first graders, but it's every grade, every class. So you don't need to hire a janitor, you just have the kids do it. But and then after that we have the flag ceremony. We all line up and we go out to the track and field, and they bring the flag and they raise it up and we sing the national anthem. So it's a very uniform and upbeat environment. Every day we start out the class that way. And this is through grade school, through junior high, through high school. So it's different. Over here, I noticed that right away when I came here. School bus drops us off, kids just kind of hanging around. I said, oh wow, there's no ceremony and no cleaning. So it definitely is a different atmosphere.
And how long is the school day and how long are the classes?
School days are longer. So back over there, the educational system is a little more intense because it's a smaller space and the number of schools are limited. Everybody compete to get into a good school where the better grade of teachers are working. So that way you get a better education to ensure you get into the better college. So it goes from elementary school, junior high, you can go to junior high of your choice, but after junior high, it's high school. And that was one thing I was praying, please let me go to America. I don't want to take that test. It's a very high pressure test, and people, when they don't do well, a lot of kids will just commit suicide because they think their life is over, and the parents also put a lot of pressure on the kids. And then after high school, it's that same kind of test to get into a good college. So a lot of kids after school, they go to tutoring services. So they're always studying, and that's really all they do. So it's very intense.
So you really don't get together with friends and have birthday parties and trips to the zoo and things like that?
We did a little bit. We get together and go to the ice cream shop. So we have shaved ice instead of ice cream. A popular summer treat is shaved ice, and they put a pickled fruit on the bottom. And have you ever seen that? It's a huge block of ice, and it's a machine, and it just grind. You get a plate of shaved ice, and then they pour either condensed milk or syrup on it, and you just enjoy it. It's a nice and refreshing treat for the summer. So we get together for those shaved ice treats. Yeah, but we don't get to do that very often. But classmates do get together and go visit the shaved ice fruit shops for those. There's so many. That's one of the things I miss about Taiwan: the different variety of fruits. It's, yeah, some of them I haven't seen since I came here, and it's just, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I think we'll
Thank
need to
you.
move on. We're going to take a